Hey everybody, it's me Vic. Today I wanted to talk about Elgato Studio. I'm using the beta, which is 2.0, but there's some cool features starting from 1.1 and in 2.0, and we'll get to that in a minute. But let's get started because I'm actually really excited to talk about this. All right, if you go to elgato.com, you're going to go to downloads, and if you're wanting to use the beta, you could use Studio. I'm going to actually talk about the beta part first, and then I'm going to talk about what you can do in Studio 1.1 right now. Make sure you're downloading the right version for Windows. There is the regular download, and then there's the ARM download. Some people do have ARM devices, and so if you're downloading the wrong installer, it may not work for you. Just keep that in mind. But you're gonna go to the beta version, and here you go. I've downloaded this one, and I'm using this plugin for Stream Deck. And once you download it, you're gonna install it, right? So once you install it, it's gonna pop up, and as you can see, I already have the prompter here for beta, right? It tells you all of this information about your prompter, like your display link version, your device name. You can change the brightness, you can change the contrast. I'm not changing it just because I already have it configured the way that I want. You can actually change the orientation. So if you have a prompter in a different degree, like the way that you want to view things, you can, which is pretty cool, right? Because some people like vertical content. And then you can turn the thing on and off. Now you can't see that right now because my prompter is right in front of me. And what you can see is how I have my displays organized. So I have my ultra wide, I have my 1440p. It's technically a 4K 60 monitor, but in 1440p I can push 165, so it's pretty good. Anyways, there's this display, which is my prompter. And then there's scripts, right? Oh yeah, so now you can see what I'm talking about here, which is pretty cool. And if I click the link, right, it takes me down to where I'm going if I'm talking about stuff. So I'm getting ahead of myself here. And you're going to notice oh, where's all the little stuff, right? So there's these little bars right here that tells you what your devices are. You could keep that open just, for peace of mind, which one am I going to? So right now we're under prompter, and then we can go to scripts if we want. And yeah, I have some other scripts I'm working on. And then I have two other ones I need to draft up. But this is the one that I'm working on today because I figured this is where it kind of all started about a month ago, that I went down a rabbit hole. And we're going to finish up on the prompter stuff with the beta. And then that rabbit hole that I talked about, that I went down for a month, we'll get to that. And it all started because of this, so I'm really excited. By the time I was about to make content on that video, the beta popped out, so I was like, oh, I gotta play with that, right? It's really cool. You can come in here, you can rename your scripts so you can organize them, and then you can save, right? You can save it, if you wanna change something. It's already saved up to a point that it needs to be, so that's really cool about the beta so far. You can change, so many things here. For me, I like bullet points because I like to keep things where I still explain things, but I stay on track with bullet points. For me, it's easier. You could change the numbers if you wanted. Me personally, I like the indents. So if I wanted to say show the metadata and text and put here pull media info, which is really not for this video, I could. And I could say, you know what? I don't want that there. I want this to go back to normal, right? I could do that. And you're going to see it move here and there. And I love that when it comes to bullet points. That is one of my favorite features in this, just when it comes to scripts. Because I like things structured to a degree. To a degree. There's some things that I don't, like what I'm talking about right now. Anyway, we're gonna go over to prompter again, because here comes the next set of settings, right? The scripts are cool and all, you can change so many configurations and move it, but really this is kind of where everything begins with prompter. So if you look here at this little tab, right, you're gonna see this, you're gonna pop that open. And then you're going to be able to see all of your scripts that you have here. If you want to save them to a favorite, right, we go here to where it says scripts with the little house. And then you could just click a star and it'll save to your favorite, and then you can go to your favorite and see it right there. So that's currently the one I'm working on. Let's go back to prompter. And now we can go to settings. So settings, this is actually going to be for the actual prompter right here on the speed. So you can do a countdown if you want. What you're seeing on my screen is actually what I'm seeing real time on my prompter. I don't have an external camera right now to film the information that you're seeing rolling on the screen, but essentially this screen right here is exactly what the prompter is displaying, which is really cool, right? And then you could change the speed if you wanted it to go fast. Why would you want to do that? I don't know. And then there's really cool things like the countdown. You can loop it. You can highlight the reading text. There's overlays. So let's go ahead and stop the scrolling real quick. All right, the overlays, you're gonna notice this little thing right here, which is also on the prompter, and you can actually change that into different areas. And I personally like it where it is default. You can show progress, turn off progress. You can show the timer, turn off the timer. And you could turn it off altogether if you don't like it. So, you know, you have options, which is really cool. My favorite option on doing anything when it comes to scrolling is actually at my pace. And given that these are bullet points, I'm not going to literally read out all of my bullet points, but I'll read a few, right? Which is pretty cool. You do have to hit play. And when you do that, then I can say Elgato Studio, download it from elgato.com, install it, set up, talk about prompter, show the settings in prompter, which I just did, talk about the scripts, talk about scripts. Maybe it doesn't like the way I phrase it, I don't know. Show scripts being saved. Show voice sync. See if you can get voice sync to work. Which it's working, right? Isn't that awesome? So I decided to do that, and I have to pause in between that, right? Because it's going at my pace, but it's gonna stay where I want it to stay, right? So it's saying that the next thing I need to do is show you Stream Deck integration, which is pretty cool. So far, the Stream Deck integration that I have is actually for the capture card part of it. I thought there was going to be more for the voice sync stuff or like the prompter stuff, but I don't have a play or anything yet on here. So, here we go. We can go to the keys. I was trying to keep just this open. So far, this is all that I have for the plugin. So you're gonna see that here and right here because I'm using the dials. But yeah, they have a Stream Deck plugin for Studio, which is really good, or I should say Elgato Studio. But yeah, you can actually do some configurations. You know, you can record, you can go full screen, you can do a screenshot and open your library from the capture card perspective, which is pretty cool. Oh, that's funny. It actually was going to a different spot here. Okay. All right. I see what it's telling me to do. It's taking me down the rabbit hole that I've been down for a good while. So we're going to stop voice sync because it's getting a little ahead of itself. But it's pretty cool, right? Like it picks up on those key words, and you can actually change the sensitivity here. So it picks up on specific words and it'll take you down to it, which is really cool. I've been tinkering around with this. And you can make it very strict. That way it literally follows your bullet points, which not a, you know, it is what it is. Sometimes I kind of wish I would have it on constant so I can like make sure I'm in the right spot, but I really just want it to stop at my pace. So voice sync is definitely my favorite. And then we're gonna go to appearance, right? You can change the font color, you can change the background color. I mean, if I wanted it to be purple, right? I could do that. Oh, I thought it did. There we go, which I don't really care for it, right? Like I don't need to change this, but it does do that for you. So if you wanted to have a different color background, you could. And then there's a line, right? You can change the spacing between it. You can condense it to make it look like a paragraph. I don't like that. I like to have a pretty good distance in between the wording and spacing of the lines. So not too much. Everybody's unique on how they want that. You can actually change the vertical margin so that way you can only show what you want it to show, so you focus on one thing at a time. Or if you're like me, you're okay with it from middle down to the lower section. Some people like it all the way at the top though. And then there's horizontal, right? So like if you want to read a whole thing, you're going to be looking like this. As Elgato says, a pro tip, right, is to maybe put it in the middle so that way you're still able to focus and read, but you're not looking like this, right? You're just literally focused on what's in the middle. And I think that that actually helps people when it comes to the prompter. All right, and you can actually change some of these typography. There's serif, there's monos, there is Arial, and of course, Open Dyslexic, which is really cool. We could keep it on that if we really need to, but I'm okay with default. Like, default doesn't hurt my eyes. You can change the size, right? So if I wanted to make it bigger, I could. And 30, I think, is more than enough for me, so I'm gonna keep it there. Yeah, it's pretty great, the prompter, especially that voice sync, right? But I do like that you can change the sensitivity so it picks up on keywords. For me, I've used it more so with bullet points than I have written out a script, but I do have to maybe keep certain things slightly scripted when it comes to the next piece of content that I'll be working on, which is taking us down the rabbit hole of why I made the video on Studio to begin with. When 1.1 came out, Elgato released a feature that I'm really, really excited about. Oh yeah, wrong capture card. I have two capture cards connected to my streaming rig right now. And the 4K Pro can do 4K 60 HDR, whereas the 4KX can do, right here, and it'll tell you, HDR recording at a reduced resolution. Your 4KX supports HDR recording at up to 1440p 60, which is QHD. Your input signal is passed through at a full 4K 60. So in other words, I'm passing through 4K 60 FPS, but it's gonna record 1440p 60 for HDR on this capture card. But this capture card, if I had everything connected to it right now, it would be doing 4K 60. I've been running into a couple of bugs here and there, so I was like, let me just go with the one that's working right now. The bugs that I've encountered with the PCIe card is it'll give me some green screen breaking, really weird coloration issues, and it'll give me like lines in between where it has like the segment here and a segment on another side. And until that gets resolved, I probably won't be using that capture card input until, I don't know, whatever needs to be looked at. So I'll be like posting on Reddit about the beta pretty soon. But I can say that the 4KX has been very consistent for me and have not had any issues with it. And also 1440p is a pretty sweet spot for gaming, if I'm gonna be honest. So let's go ahead and look at some of these things, right? If there is going to be any firmware updates, you're gonna see them here. And if you're not sure where I clicked on the menu right next to the device here. I probably won't need this sidebar open anymore, so I'm gonna close that. But it tells you your device name, your serial number, your firmware. You can turn on and off tone mapping. Because I'm only using this Elgato Studio software right now for recording, it's okay to tone map. But if you're using OBS or something, then you're probably going to do tone mapping in OBS, which means you're probably going to want to turn this off. So I'm going to leave it on for the sake of the video for this software. But when recording in OBS, you probably want to turn that off and use OBS as tone mapping. So I'm going to click the X on that because I now understand what I need to record at, which is 1440p 60 for HDR. And if I wasn't doing HDR, right, if I turned this off, I could do 4K 144. Granted, the game itself doesn't do past 60. So I'm going to put it back down to 1440p and 60 and record HDR. Now, there's two HDR formats, and it actually tells you here in Studio, which I think is really, really cool that they have these little info icons right here. And the format says that H.264 is compatible with most editing software and playback devices, whereas HEVC and AV1 produce smaller files at similar quality, but require a supported GPU and codec to be installed. HDR recording requires HEVC or AV1. If you don't have a newer series GPU, you can still use HEVC. I can say that I'm very, very grateful that I can use AV1, but not everybody does. So If you don't have the option for AV1, use HEVC. So we're going to talk about that. H.265/HEVC is on most GPUs. AV1 is probably on the 40 series and up if you're using NVIDIA. And I think there's some AMD GPUs that also use AV1, not a lot of them. So these are the two formats that are going to be acceptable for HDR recording. And as you can see, this is probably why it's taken me so long to make this video, is because I went down the HDR rabbit hole. And when I say that, I am talking about recording, metadata, etc. And I've been super excited to actually talk about it. We're gonna look at video though, because like I want to go over all of the Elgato Studio stuff. And in video, right, when you finally connect your capture card and you're setting up your settings, and these settings are actually per Elgato configured in a way to make it easy for you. It's always going to go off of your display. Like when you boot Studio for the first time and you come to this menu right here, you're going to notice it's always going to say display. If you're having some trouble, you could try other options such as internal or merged, but display is going to be default. Your HDMI color range, you have auto, expand, and shrink. Auto is probably ideal because it's going to pick up on whatever is on your console, or it's going to auto based off of whatever device is here. But most of the time it's usually limited, right? So you'll see it with shrink. If you have it on full, it's usually going to be expand. Auto is fine. You don't need to change that. Now, if you want to get specific about your capture card, right, you can come down here to the EDID. And you can actually change some of these things. Like if you say, I want the card to do 1440p HDR and nothing more than, nothing above, nothing below then, it'll actually let you just do this format here and then you're good to go, right? You can tell it, I want you to just do this. So if you saw, for example, like a video that I did recently, you saw like maybe Elgato 1440p and you're like probably wondering, how did you get your capture card to just show that? This is how. I'm probably going to keep it on default, so I'm going to turn that off because I don't need to change anything on the capture card. And it'll usually adhere to whatever is the source of the image. So in this case, I'm putting 4K 60 out, but I'm going to be capturing 1440p 60 in HDR. There's also audio if you have an external capture card, so you can route audio over HDMI or analog. PCIe, you do not have to worry about that at all. There's no tab for audio because it's directly through your PC. But external capture cards, if you're doing like a headset and you're using a ChatLink Pro, you're going to want to do analog audio. Because I route all of my audio through HDMI and I don't do any party chats on my consoles and I use Discord, I just use something else to have my voices come through my streams. And that's Discord and Wavelength, so that's entirely different for me. I don't do any of the console party chats. I just tell my friends to meet me on Discord. So they join me there. That eliminates me having to change this. Anyways, we're going to do the recording now, right? So let me go ahead and hit the record button and make this chocobo run. Now I want to get like the sky and everything in here because the game is in HDR. And if you're not sure, right, you could actually go to the settings. Actually, let me stop this here. 15 seconds is good. We're going to go to system. Oh, wrong thing. Oops. And we're going to go to options. We're going to go to graphics and it'll tell you HDR illuminance. So it knows I'm in HDR mode, right? Which is pretty cool. I mean, you can see some really cool details, but when you look right here, right, in this little tiny box here, it's tiny because I have it minimized on the screen. But if I click the library button, right, it's going to pop open the HDR file here. So I'm going to minimize Studio real quick, pop this open, and you're going to see that it looks really washed out, right? That's how you know it's an HDR. But if you're wanting to view it, oh, hold on, what did I do? Oh yeah, I meant to close this. Okay, anyway, it recorded it in HDR, which is really cool, right? And the really cool thing about this, if you're filming in H.265/HEVC or even in AV1, those raw recordings that you're recording from Elgato Studio, will actually let you have an HDR tag because of the metadata on YouTube without any editing. Now, if you're editing, that takes us into an entirely different video that I'm going to be working on tomorrow, which I'm really excited about. So, yeah, I wanted to show you something. Here we go. I have to pull it up, but I'm going to show you how I know this, right? It's because I have tested this. But the first things first, we're going to go to properties. Wait, no. I'm going to click on media info. It's an application that I use to let me see how things are on this particular file, right? So if you look, right, we see where main 10 is going to be HDR. But the other thing that we see here is it says here PQ, BT 2020, BT 2020. So that's how we know that this is an HDR video. And you could just straight up upload it to YouTube and get that HDR tag. Now, the HDR tag is a little tricky. So I have to actually put this display in HDR mode real quick. So you're going to see it look a little different. So it looks a little dimmer, but it doesn't look completely washed out, right? That is actually something else I'm going to be talking about when it comes to HDR. I spent 2 days calibrating my monitors so I could have really nice HDR. And now I'm going to go to YouTube, go to my channel, click on content, and all right, here we go. All right, took me a moment to get this configured, but there are some HDR videos that I have, and you can see the HDR tag right here. And if you're not sure, you'll see HDR next to it once it's uploaded right here, which I think is really cool, right? So like if I was to play it without any sound, you all can actually see that this monitor is in HDR mode and it's showing HDR content, and it's actually showing you that it's HDR, which I think is really awesome. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I'm excited to actually talk about editing HDR content in DaVinci Resolve and some things that I did to make sure that the HDR tags show up. Until then, thank you for watching.